In this episode, I'm going to demonstrate how to make these gorgeous Elsie Greys Etui boxes. Hi everyone, it's Jo from Elsie Greys here, and I'm going to share with you how to make one of my favourite projects, the Elsie Greys Etui box, out of the latest Tilda fabric, Creating Memories. The Etui box is a fun project and a great storage solution for all your sewing notions. In this tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate step by step how to make one of these. Our Etui box kits come with the cardboard pre-cut to size to construct your box. Items you will need is a paintbrush, 24mm masking tape, wooden pegs, PVA glue, spray adhesive glue, some paper towels, a dish to put your glue in, soapy water to keep your brush clean, cutting board, scissors, rotary cutter and a ruler. Step 1 is the construction of the lid. Once you open your box and get your pieces out, you'll notice that we have labelled each of the pieces. This is really important to keep these labels on for the time being, and they are different sizes. So there's your inner lid, your lid, and your upper lid, and the 6 sides. First we're going to start with the lid piece and the edges, and I always just lay these out first of all to make sure that they're all the same length. If they're slightly bigger, we just need to trim those off a little bit. Once you have laid them out, we're going to get your masking tape and start constructing the sides. Now, when we put the masking tape on here, we're not going to butt that right up because that won't be able to, because the lid pieces are going to fold down. So we're going to leave a little bit of a gap just so the cardboard can fold down. And we're just going to pop one on there just to keep it secure for the moment. And you'll do that on all 6 pieces. Once you have taped your 6 sides with a nice little gap in between, we're now going to fold these back and they're going to sit flat, and we're just going to meet there, and we're just going to put a little bit of tape there to keep it secure. Now you'll see that the masking tape fits perfectly widthwise. Now don't worry about any little gaps in the corners. They'll be filled up with glue a bit later. But as long as your lid is nice and flat here. Once you've folded your lid sides up, you'll have a little bit of tape on each corner, just holding those pieces onto the top of the lid. Now we're just going to put masking tape all the way around, and make sure you don't have any wrinkles in your tape. I always start in a corner. This makes the lid nice and secure. Going to cut that piece there. So that tape is all the way around. Okay, the next step is, see, we've got just some little gaps there. We're just going to fill those up with the glue. So we're going to run the glue all the way in there, up these sides, and let that dry, and that will dry rock hard and keep it all nice and secure. So with my PVA glue, you don't need loads. And then with my brush, I just make sure that it gets right in that groove and up the sides. And we're going to do that all the way around. Just making sure that you don't have too much glue. And see, once you've got it on the brush, you can brush it out and spread it around. The more glue you have, the longer it'll take to dry as well. Need a little bit more. So we're going to pop that to one side and let that all dry. And we'll get on to the next piece. While your lid is drying, we're now going to move on to the upper and the inner lid. The upper lid is the piece that sits right at the very top that you'll cover your fabric with. So this is your upper lid here. So with your piece of wadding that you've got in your kit, cut 2 pieces for the upper lid around the hexagon shape, making sure that it fits perfectly, and you're going to cut 2 pieces. So these are just 2 that I cut earlier, and they are going to go on like that. And we're going to spray glue those onto the upper lid. Before we go any further, I just want to talk to you about the fabric that you're going to use for your boxes. I like to use a nice pretty feature fabric for the top. Then my sides on the lid here, I still like to put a print or a dot, and then I use the inner lid the same as the sides. Now when you're choosing fabrics, when you're doing the sides here, don't choose any sort of Japanese or woven types of fabrics, because the glue really sucks up the glue in the fabric, and it dries hard and it looks like it's wet when it dries. The next step, we're going to spray glue our wadding pieces to our upper lid and the inner lid. I always just lay a towel down because the spray of the glue can sort of get a bit away from you. I never cover my labels, just so I know when I've got them all laid out, I still know that is my upper lid. So I turn that over, and we're just going to hopefully just a little bit of glue. Don't saturate it, and lay your piece of wadding on there. And the upper lid has two pieces of wadding, so we're just going to lay that other piece on there. So that's your upper lid and your inner lid. Some people love the smell of that glue. I'm not a big fan. There we are. And now we're ready to cover those with the fabric. Okay, so now we're up to covering the lid with our fabric. So the gorgeous blue print I'm going to use here is going to be the top of my lid, which is like this one here. So make sure that your fabric is nice and pressed, no creases. And we're just going to lay our upper lid down on your fabric, and you're going to cut about a good inch all the way around. Once you've cut your fabric, this is where the pegs are going to come in place, and we're just going to, I pour my glue into like a little dish because I don't like pouring the glue straight onto here because you end up with way too much glue. So I pour it into like a little dish and I'm going to paint my glue on, just so you don't saturate the cardboard with glue. And we're going to pull that over. Now don't be too concerned that you've got glue there. That doesn't matter. I've just put a little bit too much on, but that's just going to dry. So we're just going to pop our pegs on there. Now we're going to do the opposite side. And we're going to pull that fairly taut there. Now I'm just going to turn that over and just make sure that it's not pulling too tight, that it's forming all these tight sort of wrinkles. Okay, so now we'll do the other sides. So we're just going to make sure we get in that corner there. We're going to, now we don't want a crease on the other side, so we're going to make sure that that's pulled over nice and tight, and then tight again. See how you get a nice mitered edge there. Pop these pegs in. Turn it around, do the opposite side. And the glue grabs the fabric pretty quickly. And then we'll just do the last two. And again, we just want to get that nice little mitered corner there. Now I'm just going to take the glue from that one. Oh, goodness. Pop that on like that. And making sure that it's all nice and flat and you've got no wrinkles. So just check the other side. See how that's looking nice and flat. Just do this last side. And remember, not too much glue. Just pull that over there and peg that on. Now, I don't think that was tight enough. So, see how we got that little point there? See how that's sticking out? We don't want that. So pull that down a little bit tighter and you'll get that nice corner. And same with this side. See how that's sticking out a little bit too much? We want to bring that in nice and tight. And just make sure that your pegs are holding it all nice. As I said, the glue grabs the fabric pretty quickly. So those two sides are dry already. Now see there, I'm not really happy with that little bit there. See how that's a bit baggy? We're just going to pull that one out, pull that up, pop a bit more glue in there and pull that a bit tighter. And see, that's sitting a lot better. And we'll just wait for that to dry. So while this one's drying, We're just going to repeat the same process on the inner lid. So we're going to cut a good inch all the way around and glue to your inner lid. Okay, so now that your lid is dry, or it should be almost dry by now, and your two pieces, so your upper lid and your inner lid, are dry. Now don't leave your pegs on too long, because your wooden pegs will dry to your cardboard. I did have a little wrinkle there which I wasn't happy with, so I just pulled that up and popped that peg back on there. So that's what it should look like. Don't worry about that looking a little bit untidy. You're not going to see it because it's going to sit on the top of the lid like that. So now we're going to cover the sides of the lid. Now just double checking that you've got no wrinkles in your masking tape. Okay. Okay, to start your lid, we're going to pop a little bit of glue and we're just going to run it along the edge there. Now this is really important that you don't plaster it with glue, because some fabrics just don't like the glue and looks like it'll dry all wet and hard. So we're just going to lay that. Now I've put a little join in my piece because I wanted the same piece of fabric as the inner lid. So if you've got a join in yours, just make sure that your seam is nice and flat. Now we need enough for it to fold over and tuck in there, and we need enough for it to fold over there as well. Okay, so we're just going to go around and just glue your piece on. Remember, not too much glue. And I smooth it out as I go. Now that seam is exactly on that corner, and I did just jag that one. That wasn't planned. Just continue around, popping the glue over the masking tape. Making sure that you don't have any glue on your fingers when you're smoothing this out, because you don't want glue on the outside. So I'm just going to wipe my hands because I've just got a little bit of glue on there. That's what the paper towels are great for. You can use baby wipes as well. That gets the glue off your fingers. Now just making sure that that you've got plenty of turnover here, and that it's going to tuck right out under there as well. I'm smoothing that out as we go. Now the other little trick with these is don't put a white edging on, because white you'll just see straight through it and you'll see all your masking tape. And make sure you get a masking tape that's not too yellow. You know how it goes old? When it goes old, it goes a bit yellow looking. Because if you're putting a light fabric on your edge, you don't want to see the masking tape. Okay, so this is the last side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold over the piece here. Now see, I've got a little bit too much fabric there. I'm just going to cut that back. because I want to be able to tuck that under there. So I'm just going to cut a little bit off there, just so it's not so bulky. And that's I'm going to glue that under right on that corner there. See there? That's right on the corner. So we'll pop a little bit of glue there. Just make sure that you've got, and just fold it there nice, and so you've got a nice crisp edge. Okay. Okay, so we're ready to glue the top of the lid here. So I'm just going to cut some little, just so when that sits like that, it's going to sit over, and you've got that nice corner there. Not cutting right to the very edge, it's just a little snip. Now we don't need to do it there because that's our join. And I'm right on that join there, so I'm just going to cut that and cut that and there. And then we'll glue that top bit down. So again, using your paintbrush and your glue. You don't need loads of glue because the lid, the upper lid is going to sit on top of this, on top of the lid here. Making sure it's nice and flat, no wrinkles. And there's you find a balance with your glue, what's too much and what's not enough. So you would rather not enough than too much at this point. And we'll just wait for that to dry, and then we'll glue on the inside here. Okay, so now we're going to glue inside here with your fabric, and we're just going to run the glue. Now you can be quite heavy with your glue here, and see where I'm getting in there. And you might need to come out a little bit further. So I do two sides first. And then I'm going to, if you can see that, I'm going to push this over. Now I use the end of my paintbrush to get in those corners, and I just sort of run my nail in there, and then get that nice and flat. Don't worry too much about wrinkles in here because your inner lid is going to sit in there, so don't be too concerned if you've got wrinkles. You just don't want wrinkles on the inside here, okay? Which I've got one right now. So that was a and we'll just glue the next side. So I just using my nail or, you know, the end of your paintbrush to get right in that corner. Now sometimes you will get a wrinkle and there's nothing you can do about it, so don't be too... See how this one's wrinkling up just a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make that like a little pleat in there. And see how I'm just pressing all that in there. See? And I'll just glue these last two sides. I actually think this is the worst bit of the box, to be honest. It's a little bit fiddly in here, trying to get it nice and neat. Okay. And that's wrinkling up because I've got my join right there. But as long as I can get that nice and flat. Sometimes you can really push in there and get the wrinkle out with your nail. Okay, just need a little bit of glue there, keep that down, and that's where we ended coming around. So we just need a little bit of extra glue there. Okay, that all looks pretty good. Yep, so we're just going to let that dry and then we'll be popping our inner lid in there on the next step. Okay, so our next step is we're going to pop our inner lid in here and then we're going to glue our upper lid to the top of the lid. Okay, so with your glue you can be quite liberal with this now. And I just do a big sort of swirl like that. Now you don't want it squeezing out the sides, so don't go right up into those, you know, into those edges. So that's what it looks like. You can brush a little bit away from the, you know, you can do that if you wish, if you feel like you've got too much glue or you're worried that it's going to ooze out the sides here. Just brush that in like that. And we're just going to slot that in. And it should fit perfectly. And this is where we need a couple of weights to hold that down. And I just use a couple of cans of soup or tomatoes or something like that. And with that weight, it'll just, that'll glue nice and flat. Okay, so once your inner lid is glued in, we can glue the top, your upper lid to your lid, and then your lid will be finished. So again, we're going to just remember, we're just going to, we do need a little bit extra in these little bits here, but not too much because we don't want it to all ooze out the side. If it starts coming out the sides, you can then just run your finger along and pick up the glue. But I'll show you, I'm sure it'll happen. So we're going to place our lid, upper lid on. Making sure. Now see there how that glue is going to ooze out, but that's okay. because we want quite a bit of glue on this lid. Okay, so we're just going to turn that over. We're going to pop our weights back in here and let it dry for a little bit, and then if there's any gaps, we're just going to fill those gaps in with glue. Okay, so now that we've glued your upper lid to your lid, just go around and check that you don't have any gaps. Now see there, it's a little bit gappy. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift it up a little bit without pulling the whole upper lid off, and I'm just going to run some glue in there, and then we'll glue that back down. I think everywhere else is pretty good. So if you've got any bits that look like it's lifting, just lift it up slightly, pop some glue in, pop it back down and pop your weights back in. And I would leave that to dry overnight. That completes part 1 of making our Etui box. In part 2, we will construct the outer sides and the gussets. Thanks for watching, and remember to like, share and subscribe to our channel. We look forward to bringing you part 2 very soon.